Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where today's topic is breaking nothing. Why nothing is new under the sun and what actually is. With our speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and a former monk. It's lunchtime on Friday and people are still dialing in, but really glad and excited, Vaish, to have another episode of Success Sadhana.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Jam, and I'm excited about the topic today because it's practical, but at the same time profound. I like the combination, the two things together. And what I mean by practical is just something you'll be able to practice at the end of it, or stop practicing. And it brings up a point that I have written in my notebook, which is that anything I'm doing regularly, I'm practicing. So I should be wary that I'm going to get good at it. And if I practice those things that are put me in a retrograde situation, then I may end up in a hole. And so why do that? Why not figure out those practices that get me out of a hole? As the old saying goes, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So one of the ways of stop digging a hole we'll be talking about today, but maybe even more interesting and compelling than that is talking about the experience of self and self-realization and how it's naturally gives a sense of renewal at every moment. And that's why it's fascinating. It's not boring, or it's not something that makes one want to go do something else. It's fully absorbing. Hence the concept in meditation on the self, which is called samadhi. Don't worry if you're just coming in. I'm just bantering, so you didn't miss anything yet. Structural. D in Sanskrit has to do with full concentration on some object. And sama means complete. So can any of you think of a time when you're completely absorbed in one thing without any deviation of your thought process to a different direction? Maybe let me make a few suggestions since we're just warming up here, and I know I didn't even give you time to answer, but what about there was just this extravaganza all across America, the world. It was called FIFA, with is football, soccer we call here in California. People, I think it's 90 minutes, and people follow a white ball on a green field back and forth with complete absorption for some time. They might feel a little relief because their mind is so focused in one place. That's a kind of samadhi. The mind is one place, you get a little space relief. Of course, it contracts back again and becomes thick after that. But there are ways in which we can focus our minds so it gives us more space, a sense of renewal, and an ever deepening sense of mystery, which is kind of what the word new means. So that's where we're going today. One topic, but it has several facets. Okay? That's what you're signed in for today. Just letting you know. So, let's take a minute, since we all just came in here, to sit up a little straighter and just feel what it feels like to lengthen your spine. Notice your vertebrae just separating slightly from one another, and put your head at a level position and just feel the benefit of having a head balanced upon a spine that is wired so that you can feel every extremity of your body. And maybe if you'd like to go a little deeper, close your eyes and sit in a very comfortable position, and then try coming to that old standby that's always there, but we often forget, which is your breath. And luxuriate in your breath. See what it feels like to deepen your breath just a little bit and sense that you're getting nourishment for every cell in your body. They all live on oxygen, and maybe they're smiling every time you inhale because they're feeling that you're bringing them life. And notice while you're sitting here that you're in a body, and you can feel the sense of containment because you have fingers, toes, a field, as the Bhagavad Gita says. Krishna says the body is your kshetra, or it's a field that you're in right now. And you can notice it. If you happen to stub your toe, you may immediately react and think, oh, I stubbed my toe. Notice it's not I toe, it's the toe that you have. And as David Cresswell likes to say, when there's an impulse in the body, whether it's a sense of pain or an urge, then get curious about it. Instead of reacting to it directly and thinking, oh, that's me experiencing something, just think of what that signal is that's coming in. And you can do that for your whole body and the whole experience of being a body. Objectify it and notice that I'm watching. And when some impulse comes, whether it's sound in the environment or whether it's a scent or a feeling, tactile feeling, then be curious about it. Think, what is it? Where did that come from? And once you do that, you separate yourself from it, and you can start to feel that I'm the observer. And the next phrase is kshetra gya. Gya means to be cognizant. So I am cognizant of what? The field. And I'm not the field, I'm the observer of the field. And if we can keep coming back to this awareness as we move around, as we sleep or wake up, the first thing in the morning, you can notice, here's my biological robot, perfectly wired, giving me an opportunity to learn something. And stand up for a minute when you wake up and feel that you have an operational system to work with for the day. And then come back to your breath for a minute and do an exercise where you just let go of any of the thought energy that's been swirling around. And don't worry about anything. Just be in the awareness that I'm here right now. I always have been, I always will be. And right now, everything's okay. And it always will be. It's only the thought energy that I identify with as a movie that makes me feel that there's some cause for anxiety. But there is none. And now in your mind's eye, and making an internal audible sound in your mind. You can speak it without using your vocal cords. The two syllables Rama, which have to do with the pleasure that comes from discovery of self. So say it in your mind, Rama. 3 times loud inside the chamber of your mind. And just let that echo through your whole body. And again, we'll come back to our breath and open your eyes. And we'll come back for a brief discussion about newness. You like new stuff? Good, I do too. If you ever order something and you wait for it to come and you're like, wow, it's new, I got it. That is the experience of self-realization at every moment. JM, let's show a few sides so people don't think I'm nuts. They can see I have some philosophical basis for this, and a practical side too. And welcome everyone who walked in just a few minutes ago. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. Breaking nothing. So what does that make you think of, breaking? Where do you hear breaking these days, besides if you drop something and it breaks? Where is it advertised as something that you need? I know I'm giving it all away and making it no fun, but go ahead and either verbalize it or put it in the chat box. What's breaking these days? Breaking news. Radha got it right away. Is that what you were all thinking? Since I was leading in that direction? Yeah, well, what about breaking nothing? I've said before, I made a little clip about this. Breaking news means breaking your concentration on what's important and also breaking your heart. There's only so much the sentient being can handle as far as caustic, jarring information that comes pouring in. And people get traumatized by having too much of that come into their mental system. 99%, 99.9% is information we can't really process because there's not much we can do about it. So that puts us at a disadvantage. So maybe the title is suggestive of what I'm going to talk about is, why don't we try for some time breaking nothing? And also, let's talk about newness and why nothing new, why there is nothing new under the sun. Okay, good, Jam. So here we have the image of newspapers. When we think of news, I mean, we just take it for granted that's what it is. Some information pouring in. What's the definition? It means newly received, noteworthy, and is it really new? That's a question that I'm going to bring up today. What we take as news, whether we take it through the digital media or through on paper, is it really new? We better go a little deeper because so far it's still stuff you hear all the time. One more. So, from Ecclesiastes, which is often quoted for its wise observations of the world. This is a cliche, you've heard it so many times, but let's let it sink in. Nothing new under the sun. Well, what's under the sun? Everything in this world. That's the meaning. There's nothing new. It's all the same. And then we have Bhagavad Gita, which is saying everything's made of 3 ingredients. It's just combinations and permutations of these 3 ingredients. And if you've been on here before, you've heard me talk about the Bhagavad Gita's reference to the 3 modalities, which are clarity, goodness, or sattva, passion, which is a kind of drive to go somewhere or literally drive somewhere, and inertia in the context of no movement and no impetus to move. Bodies at rest tend to stay at rest. And so it may be a different day. The sun may have come up and gone down. You may change your calendar, but it's the same stuff, literally stuff, but it's in different combinations and permutations. But it's recycled. So what we call news isn't really news. This is breaking news. It's a rerun with better production values. By the way, have you ever noticed, as far as entertainment goes, people get bored and then they go back to stuff that's already been seen before? I mean, how many shows from the 1960s, 70s have been recreated. And how many times can you make a sequel? Well, maybe 4 or 5, apparently, if it's a blockbuster. But it's the same stuff over and over and over again. That's the idea behind these exclamations, that we're doing the same things within the same realm. And once my teacher said, we want to go beyond this realm of reruns and experience something that's really new. Okay, it's been a diatribe up till now, so monologue, diatribe. Let's see if you have any just reactions, reflections. I only got one text out of that whole thing so far. So if you have any thoughts, like if you want to throw a tomato, put up a tomato emoji. If anything I said sparked anything in you so far, you can mention it. But I'm going to go into samadhi until somebody speaks up. It's got to be verbal, because I'm not even watching the text box now. You'll have to break me out of it.
Rajiv says, in the world of Rajiv, go ahead, do you want to say it?
Hey, Rajiv. Great to see you.
We are still um, getting better in reading lips.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the reminder. I was on mute. I was just mentioning that even in the world of movies, there's only 7 basic plots. We're just bringing them out, as you said, with different clarity, different drive, different inertia.
That's profound. And it's really helpful, Rajiv, as usual. And yeah, it's 7. That's interesting. 7, and we combine them in different ways. Timing's a little different. Actors are a little different. That's what you're saying? Same plots?
Yes.
And so we're basically watching the same thing over and over again. Nice. Yeah, I'd heard that before. If you trace back everything, you'll find it. Same with music, similar lyrics. And also, I heard a music expert talk about how most popular songs you can trace back to 3 chords. And when you get into more interesting combinations and permutations of music, well, I could say interesting, depends to whom, but there are ways in which you can do more. But generally, it's the same thing. Fantastic. What else? One more, or I'm going back into samadhi. Anything you heard so far, the concept, the pictures, the meditation, how did it feel coming on the show today? Just give me some human contact. I'm going to count down from 3, and then I'm going to start calling on people.
Rajiv, go ahead.
No, I was just saying others better speak up, or it'll just be me.
3, 2, 1.
I was just thinking, the meditation, it is known every time that we are trying to relax and center and get ready for the class. But every time when I go through meditation, and when you say drop everything, don't need to think, I really feel it. Yeah, I'm carrying so much, and how just following that thought and instruction lets me know that how much weight is going off every time. It's like it's the same thing, but every time I feel it, it's new every time. So yeah, I was just reflecting on that.
Yeah, I like that reflection, because sometimes the mind resists stopping and introspecting, thinking that's going to be boring. I need stimulation from the outside. And even the smallest view of what's happening inside, observation, can be refreshing, just like we have a conscious talking about the refresh button is so addictive. And when you mentioned meditation, I had written down the definition of it. It comes from med, which means to take remedial measures to what? And it's really has to do with the turbulent mind. It's something in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna talks about in the 6th chapter of how the mind can be friendly or it can be violently against us. And what's the remedial measure, how to make it a friend, is one of the topics of meditation. And what else do we have in the chat?
Yeah, Akansha says we get addicted to new headlines, but it's just the same noise in a different font and format.
Yeah, let me comment on some of the words. Noise is a nautical term. It comes from nausea. And actually, you trace it back to Sanskrit. The word for boat in Sanskrit is nau, which is Nauh, which means a boat. That's where nausea comes from. And everyone knows if you're on an ocean or on a boat in general, anywhere, and it's rocking, then you can get a kind of seasickness called nausea. And that's where the word noise comes from. Noise makes us sick. Meditation is a remedy for that seasickness, for which we bring our minds back to that which is actually new, which is stimulating, which is life-giving. So it's a remedy, med, like medicine, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. What else? Now they're pouring in. Thanks for waking up, everybody. Okay, let's go. What else you have?
Monica says, I appreciate that the classes begin with meditation. It preps the mind for receiving and connection.
Ah, that's a good point. We have to be prepped to receive. Because we are receiving so much from the environment, and if we're not selective about it, it can become noise. That's really what noise means. It's random. And we can miss a lot of the signals that are coming in. And there's a term that I extracted from one of the writings of my teacher, which is the appreciating capacity. How much could we appreciate? Have you ever been in a state of mind where you couldn't appreciate? It happened to me yesterday. Okay, vulnerability. I have to give a testimonial. PG&E is working in our neighborhood here in Burlingame. They're tearing up everything, every street in the whole town to put in new gas lines. And just happens that I had a VIP guest coming to my house yesterday. And it just happened that PG&E was tearing up my street and my front yard and my neighbor's front yard with huge machinery right when he was coming into the airport. I had to bring him to my house. Behind me, one of the small Burlingame houses has been torn down, and they're building a monster house right behind me. So that's going on in stereo. And meanwhile, I was fasting because it was a special day yesterday. So I had to go to the airport, pick up my friend, and bring him back to this cacophony of machine sounds. And for a minute there, my appreciating capacity had gone down. And then I had to reframe and consider. I'm lucky that I was thinking, actually, the first thought that came to me, there's some people in war zones where their place is being torn up, but for no good reason. They're actually got to have a good reason for tearing up my yard, which is to put in new gas lines. And from there, I was able to climb out of the hole of not appreciating what was going on around me. So it's possible. Okay, what else, JM?
Rajiv says, perhaps the desire to be stimulated by breaking news is a sign of forgetfulness.
I like that. Yeah, when we forget our real interest in life and when we forget who we are, we can be lost in the movie and just be so-called content to be carried away by random information. I think that's a lot what scrolling has to do. And news also has a kind of titillation. There's a sense of ghastliness, or very little is there. Well, there's some interest. I mean, they try to balance it nowadays and show some things that are perhaps positive, but yeah, it's definitely a lot to handle. and it can take us away from our real connection with ourself. Okay, a few more, Jam, and then I won't take so long to comment on each one.
Akansha says, I had no idea about the origin of the word noise.
Yeah, it's helpful, isn't it? That's all I'm going to say. Keep going.
And Nirali says, even life, uh, even life of birth and death seems not new. Irony, which cannot explain as just feeling. Feelings of happiness, disbelief, anger, or bliss also feel not new. I panic sometimes when late, not sure how to overcome knowing it comes back, and similar responses I have.
Yeah, okay. That's another very existential observation about birth and death. I will get into a little bit more what bliss means because there is a, a there is a sense of so-called bliss in contact with the world, which is short-lived, and then there's a kind of bliss which is ever increasing, and that's what I want to talk about. Okay, thank you, everybody. Now I'm happy. I can move on. Let's see more about breaking nothing. Okay, what's the cost? There's an opportunity cost, as we learn in business, for everything that we don't do. And here we have our own habits of consumption. Okay, so I'm going to look up the word consume. Consume means to eat, drink, or ingest food, to buy, to use up a resource, to destroy. And it comes from sumere, to take up. So really, what are we picking up? We're perfectly capable of picking up anything, and we can be very selective about it. So consuming means what we're taking in from the world. So what you consume doesn't just inform you, it affects you. And that's something we talk about with content and contentment. We're vessels, we take in various kinds of content, and that will determine our level of contentment. Content. Andrew Weil, he's a advocate of various types of medicine. He's a MD. I'm not specifically promoting him, I'm just quoting him. He said that periodic news fasts, not to become uninformed, but to choose what enters your mind. And the statement at the bottom of the slide is a little more graphic or viscerally felt when you think about it. You wouldn't let just anything or anyone into your kitchen. So the idea of a kitchen is so intimate. Like, who's cooking today? Or what are they cooking? It's going to make a difference, and it's going to affect you. If it's somebody you trust and love, it's a very happy occasion to be near somebody cooking for you. If it's a stranger or somebody who may have ill intent for you, or even just a profit motive cooking for you, then your feeling may be different. So let's make a parallel with the other kinds of things we consume besides food, which may make a difference. What kind of information are we getting? Who's producing it and why? Question: the kind of information we get in the name of news, breaking news, is created by this is turning out to be multiple choice, so don't mind, is created by those who A, have our highest self-interest in mind, and they want to inform us for our own good so that we feel more productive and happy in our lives. B, because they're trying to compete with other news agencies, and they would like to present something faster and more and do it in a more sensational way to catch our attention because they have a profit motive. C, none of the above.
B.
Okay, explain yourself, Akanksha. What
Be
makes
Guru
you so
Maharaj.
cynical about the news? Go ahead.
No, I mean, one of the choices was profit, correct? Like the
Mm,
second one.
mhm,
So, yeah, I mean, everything that the media or social media or the other, like the television channels, which
mm.
kind of present in front of us, it's just for their profit. It's nothing for us. It just, I mean, it it fills our mind with all this information, which is just noise or nausea.
Mm. Good point. Does anybody else want to take my test? It's simple. It's only three parts: A, B, or C. A was it's for our highest good, and they have our self-interest in mind. B, it's from some profit motive, and C, none of the above.
I was just reminded of this. Previously, you have mentioned like when we search anything on Google or even nowadays on the AI chats, the certain links which appear on the top are always, not always, typically sponsored links,
Mm.
and your mind is trained to quickly skim, not even skim, just not leave it, go through where does the sponsored link end. That's where you start. That, like, it's, your mind is trained to just skim through it. Same thing with email. If the email subject says, I have $50,000 waiting to give it to you, or your text says, I got refund, or you got a free I don't know, $50,000 loan available to you. That's it. Like when you just skip through it, you put it in the junk folder. So the mind is trained, because when it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
right. That's why those Nigerian prince emails were
oh,
very compelling few years back.
mm, yeah. I mean, just I'm glad you mentioned it, Jam, because I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets junk mail and text. Um, but I was thinking in a humorous way that when you come to the end of the sponsored links, you might think, oh, here's there's some virtue in the ones below this, because actually they're doing it for my self-interest. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, this is really one of the concepts in the Bhagavad Gita about learning. There's a verse in the fourth chapter which is really about how to get information that's really for your self-interest, and that is to find somebody that you deeply trust. They're to be vetted and to see their lifestyle, to try to understand their intention. And when you're satisfied with that, and it says that's a place where you can open your mind and heart to information that's truly for your benefit. And what must that feel like if we're already inclined to that? If we already resist the idea that somebody wants something in return for what they're giving us, the knowledge and so forth, that it's for profit, and therefore, because it's profit motivated, it may be skewed away from the truth or from an ethical presentation and so forth. So if we could find a source, let's just say theoretically, there is a source of such pure-hearted knowledge, purely presented knowledge, what if we were to drink from that and keep an open mind to that? How would that make us feel if even superficially we're averse to taking in knowledge that may have been gerrymandered to make some profit or something like that? That's kind of what you're getting at, right, JM? Yeah. Do any of you ever get such um, unsolicited offers to get a loan for $50,000 or something like that? That seems to be in the amount people are advertising a lot. Yeah. Okay, Jam, I need it. Let's go back to that same slide and then go to the next one. I'm building a case here step by step. It's leading to something which I can talk about because it's something that I'm personally doing, and therefore I have some conviction behind it. Okay, here we have the cost of the news habit. What does it cost you? Well, this is something to consider. We have a certain amount of time in this life, and once it's over, it's over. There was a philosopher named Chanakya who said that time is more valuable than money, than gold coins, he said, because gold coins can come and then they can go. You can always get them back again. Even in one lifetime, there are many people who have made a fortune, lost a fortune, got it back again. But time, once it's gone, it's gone. And you can't buy back, he said, even 1 second with millions of gold coins. And therefore, one might argue that our time is our most valuable asset. So if we waste it, it's a great loss. It's a huge cost to us. So framing the human life, first of all, coming to terms with the fact that it has a beginning and an end. That's something many people don't do. A person who's motivated by the idea that I have a beginning and an end and doesn't think impractically that, well, maybe if I freeze my body cryogenically, I'll be brought back, and therefore there's going to be a continuum of this body. My teacher once said a transcendentalist is one who comes to terms with the fact that there's a beginning and an end, and that end can come at any time, and not to be neurotic about it, but to be highly aware that time is so valuable. Then one might say, what's the cost of investing one's mind in random information, aka news? Let's speak of breaking news. Okay, let's try the next slide. So let's talk about what's actually new. I wonder about this word actually, because every time I use Grammarly, it always says get rid of it. It's almost superfluous. What do you think if I just said what counts as new? Would you be any less impressed by this presentation if I took the word actually out? What do you think?
Actually, I think it just makes you stop and maybe think for a second more, I guess.
Oh, all right, leave it in. Okay, what actually counts as new? Not more headlines, and there are writings that are worth revisiting. Now, one of the ways we can define a wisdom literature, and you've heard me say that so many times, wisdom literature, I try to give a generic feeling to that. What is a wisdom literature? Well, you could say it's something worth revisiting. What's more, when you do revisit it, you find something new and deeper in it. Now consider a newspaper. The newspaper often ends up at the bottom of the birdcage at the end of the day because it's no longer relevant, not worth revisiting. And there are writings that are so new, actually new, that when you read them, you feel that you got something fresh. Now, this is one of the suggestions, that you invest your mind and your reading power in these kinds of literatures that take you to a deeper level, that are worth revisiting. And another kind of news that actually is new is insight from people who are doing deep inner work. They're achieving something through their tapasya, or they're taking some trouble to go more deeply within the process of self-realization. Therefore, they have something insightful to say. Have you ever been in such a situation where you were listening to someone who had obviously done some deep inner work and was practicing what they're talking about, and their insights, their analogies, they affected you in a very powerful way. You walked away feeling improved. You don't have to answer that. But just think about it. That's new in the context I'm talking about here. There is such a thing as news. That's news. And then we have our own reflection. JM said at the beginning, he talked about how even though we just do a few minutes of introspection, that feels new every time we do it. And that's there for discovery at every moment. In fact, some people make it their whole life. And one can fashion one's lifestyle around that principle, that I'm trying to live in such a way that I have the wherewithal, including more time, and the inclination to go deeper within that sphere of inspection of who I am, not the body. And the newness of being in the present moment and experiencing life, that I am conscious. I am conscious of my own consciousness and marveling in it. And that never gets old. So that's a fresh source of realization through reflection, actually looking within ourselves. So this kind of truth doesn't expire. It's the kind of truth that doesn't expire. That is in the wisdom literatures, in our own introspection, and hearing from those who are experiencing it. This is really the process of the walking the path of self-realization, is going into real newness and experiencing it at every moment. So it should deepen every time you return to it. And when you're able to discuss with others, as we're doing now, really that's the purpose of this program, is success sadhana, is to go more deeply within these concepts, then it stimulates something in you that feels new. And you also come away with a sense of curiosity about how you could go more deeply within it. Compare that to listening to breaking news about events in the world that you can't control. You may feel a sense of anxiety. Let's see if we can get a few adjectives. I would say indignation. I've felt that before. It's like, how dare they? Why are they doing that? What other kind of adjectives might you give if you felt the influence of breaking news, the kind that breaks your... I hope I'm not leading the witness here, but anyway, breaking news, breaking your heart, breaking your concentration, what adjectives would you use to express how that feels? I already took 2 of them, but there's probably a few more left. You can put them in the chat box. You can ask ChatGPT also. It'll give you like 50 of them. Or you can put the opposite. Okay, you want a time suck, pushed, scattered. These are great. It sucked away your time and you feel pushed into something. Scattered, shattering. But you guys are fantastic. Feels like losing control. Wow, we could write a song. This sounds like an REM song or something like that. Fantastic. Okay. Well, this is good stuff. I mean, it's not really good stuff, but it's bad stuff about good stuff. So here we have 2 worlds. And this is Upanishadic. When you say Upanishadic, it should be, this is foundational. It comes from some of the most substantially verified wisdom literatures in the world. They say one result comes from absorbing your mind in breaking news. I'm taking a little poetic license. And another completely different result comes from absorbing your mind in your own consciousness and the source of your consciousness. Opposites. And so really self-realization is non-sectarian, universal, and it's simple because it means turning your attention to that which is really new. That's about the same as actually. Don't need really. So that's the case I'm making, that there's a choice. And somebody somewhere has a need to get my attention because it ends up in profits. Or maybe power, because in let's say a political system, and uh, going, I'm not mentioning this because I'm trying to create um, a groundswell for any particular political idea, but just think of politics in general. It's dividing people so some people can have more control. So there's this dichotomy that happens, and we have to be grounded enough in this powerful information that comes from a different realm so that we can navigate the rest of it and not be overly not be consumed by it. Okay, I have a few more slides which hopefully will be highly consequential, and we still have a few more minutes, so I just want to see if there are any reflections or questions so far, because it's so nice to have a conversation.
There are a couple which rolled in. Monica says the ground being swept from underneath your feet, losing ground. It's in relation to breaking news.
Nice description. The ground being swept from underneath your feet, and that you're losing ground. It's as if you're being pulled away from your progress in life. And then
And Rajiv says, Rajiv, do you want to say it?
Yeah, I just like that word, Upanishadic. I think
Yes.
from now on, instead of fantastic, I'll just
Yeah, it comes from there. There are a lot of adjectives that come from like there's a festival in India in Jagannath Puri. It's called the Jagannath Ratha Yatra, and it's the enormous carts that come rolling down. And now in the English language, there's the term juggernaut. Juggernaut means something that's unstoppable. And then, of course, now people they'll say it was of biblical proportions or titanic in its scope. You know, things like that, world events that come up that turn into adjectives. So Upanishadic, it does give that sense of ancient stability,
yeah.
ancientness and stability. Yeah.
And suddenly I'll start sounding profound.
Yes. Absolutely, and it's so much. It has so much to do with our vocabulary that we've researched. That's why I love words so much, because if you know what they mean and you know how to put them in the right order, I mean that's obvious, then it stimulates a certain part of people's brains, and it elicits a kind of response. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard Vedic, but we never heard like Upanishadic. Like this is the first time I've heard this term.
There you go. Yeah, Buddhistic. That's something one of my English teachers used to say. That it sounds Buddhistic, you know, and it gives it. You have a whole culture there, you know. The Buddha contemplation, is this Buddhistic? Is this Upanishadic? You know, so it can be literal and also can be adjectival. Okay, fantastic. Let's. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, Rajiv, about the word Upanishad, which has its own roots. Okay, so Upa means come close. It indicates you're coming closer to something. And shut is cognate with the word in English stand. You have understanding. You have steadiness of wisdom. You comprehend something, and stand just means you have 2 feet on the ground, really, and that comes from this sta and shut word. So to sit, Upanishad, it means to sit close to something. And so the whole idea of the Upanishads, they're a section of the vast literatures called the Vedas, as you know better than me, that come, it's the first part of the of all the wisdom in the Vedas, it comes to the point of, hey, there's something more than just trying to get along in the material world. Why don't you ask a bigger question now? And to find that out, the meaning of Upanishad is sit up close to somebody who's talking about this. And so it goes with
That
our whole topic today, breaking news.
yeah.
Get in close, listen
That
carefully.
explains the nature of Upanishads, which is a back and forth between a teacher and a student.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, discussion. It's
Yeah.
didactic.
All the
Discussion.
Upanishads are discussions.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Rajiv. You can just see the student leaning in, listening. Fantastic. Great. Okay, Akansha gave us one of these, which is a very powerful mudra. Jam, let's see. There's a couple more slides, and it's coming to a crescendo. So get ready, everybody. This could be consequential in your lives. We talked about, I like this slide a lot. There's a lot in it, and I'm just going to review it again. What actually counts as new? Just remember, newness, actual newness, means it should take you somewhere deeper. You should feel more of a sense of satisfaction, and not all the other adjectives that we mentioned before. News shouldn't make you feel shattered, scattered, pushed, or that your time is being sucked away. So now we know the difference to some degree. Okay, let's try one more slide. Dare we? There it goes. We can't stop it now. Akansha, go ahead.
Yeah, Guru Maharaj, I have a question on that previous slide. So when you say like news shouldn't be shattering or something that makes us sad, does that mean we should always look for something that's positive?
No, not necessarily. It has to do with the motive of the message itself. And so when we're shattered in the sense that our concentration is shattered, or that we feel depressed without context, there are other kinds of emotions that are very deep that also could be described with these same kinds of adjectives, but they have their roots in reality. So the opposite of this is not nothingness. The opposite is emotions that are connected to reality, and that's what we're getting to. And in fact, the whole project of the Vedas, which fructify in the book called Srimad Bhagavatam, is called Reality Distinguished from Illusion for the Welfare of All. So when we're able to see what's the reflection and what's the reality. So the concept of the Bhagavad Gita is this world that we're interacting with here is a reflection of reality. And what do you get out of a reflection of a fruit tree, a reflected fruit tree? What's the taste of the fruits? It's imaginary. You don't get anything out of it. So the relationships, the highs, the lows, all of those are there in reality. But in the reflection, they leave us empty. They leave us nauseous. Whereas when we have those same emotions connected to reality, it's ever deepening, ever absorbing. How's that? Okay, let's do this, Jam. I'm running us out of time. Attention reveals, repetition doesn't exhaust. So here we have the relatable proof of experiences that we have, for instance, falling in love for some time. We have this semblance, that I'm talking about in the reflection of what it might feel like to be connected to reality. In love, we become completely absorbed. Of course, when we're in love with the reflection, we're disappointed later. The contemplative proof of ultimate truth, the deeper you look into ultimate beauty or truth, the more it reveals, not less. So that's the opposite on the deficit side of material absorption. It means the more you look at it, the more disappointed you get, whereas it's the opposite, although it's hard to believe. And that's what spiritual realization is about. And finally, compare that to a social media feed The 100th scroll feels exactly like the first, just emptier, like eating empty calories. Okay, go to the next one because I'm coming to the practical points here. Try a news fast. What? Try a news fast? Yeah, try it. I can tell you, I have a little box I mark every day on my Notion. I created it just to keep an eye on me so I could report every day and say, I didn't look at any news today. And it's not, as Dr. Weil said, to become uninformed, but this is just my realization about news. You don't need
Waterfilled.
that much. The stuff that really matters, that's going to have an impact on you, will come to your attention because it reaches a certain threshold and goes above it, and then you'll become aware of it. You don't have to go into the minutiae.
Waterfilled.
And if you try not consuming news, you'll notice a couple things. One is that you have more time, and second is you start finding new things around your environment, and like you'll just be able to contemplate a tree
Waterfilled.
and appreciate it.
Waterfilled.
And so, a couple points I have here: less input, more clarity. You don't need more stuff. You just need more depth and understanding what you already have. So step away from the cycle and reclaim your attention. That's a kind of a battle cry. I challenge you all to try this. Either try going on a complete fast for a week, month, no news, and see how you feel. You're not obligated for all the reasons that I mentioned before. And use your extra time for reflection, for meaningful reading, quiet thinking. Now, the mind has to be engaged. You can't just leave it alone. So what I've done is I've created a series of things that I really want to look at on a regular basis. And I keep them on cardstock. I print them out. So I always have them at hand. You know how your hand wants to reach for something like a phone? And once you look at it, then you're lost. It could go any direction. So you need to replace it. So I have many things that I'm interested in that I specifically choose ahead of time when I want to have them, and I have them in a pile. So you know that urge where you want to grab the phone and look at it. I have this, and I have things that I'm reading again and again, trying to contemplate, things that I'm memorizing, and then it replaces it, and I realize that my mind is in a much clearer state than if I just get lost. And I also feel better about myself because I am not, as the analogy would be, eating junk food. And I'm not taking in information that wasn't really meant to help me in the first place. Why would I take that? Why would I invite somebody into my kitchen to cook for me if I didn't like them? I don't even like the content that comes in. And as it was pointed out, the world goes on. And everything under the sun is still going on. And even if you don't know about the news, and I experience this sometimes when I travel to remote places like small villages in the mountains and things, and I see people like in Japan, I go to these mountainous places where there's little villages, and I saw an old woman out there just gardening. She must have been in her 80s, and she looked so blissful. She was just cultivating crops. And I thought, not much news out here. Some places don't even have electricity. Places in India too. And I think, oh, they're okay. they don't need to know which tariffs are coming in, or, it's like, I mean, there is some news you need to know, but you don't need all the minutia. That's my basic case. Was there any more slides?
That was the last one. But
That's-
Rajiv has a reflection.
Please, Rajiv. You're on mute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Most of us are at some point or the other under the surge of scarcity mindset. We feel like we don't have enough time. And I feel like reducing our consumption of social media, and especially news, is probably the lowest hanging fruit that we can pluck.
Thank you for pointing that out. It really is a low-hanging fruit. I went through any app on my phone that I knew takes me down a rabbit hole, and I just got rid of it. And now since it's not there, I go like, hey, I'm free to do something else now. And as far as news goes, I know it's a rabbit hole. One thing leads to the next. So we do discover more time. Speaking of which, we just ran out. But I don't think we wasted our time. I hope we didn't. This ended with something practical, and I do sincerely challenge you to this. It's something I'm doing myself, and I think that if you try it, I would go for the whole thing. Get rid of any kind of social media for a week, or even just try it for a day, or 3 days, or a week, a month, and just say none of this. Get rid of, hide the app, nuke it, whatever you have to do. No news, and see how you feel, and then replace it with something you've always wanted to do, like a book you've always wanted to read, or take a little time to be introspective and see how you feel, and take 2 and call me in the morning. Thanks, everybody. We need a good way to say goodbye. I'm thinking of the yogis who come out of their caves in the Himalayas. They put their hands up in the air and they say Haribol. Let's try it. Haribol.
Haribo!
Hey, Bhakti SF, you got a whole room full. Okay,